Good day. Today I will be talking to you about what it would have been like to go to Oxford University in the medieval era. This presentation is from the perspective of a 15th century male student who is close to completing his bachelor's degree at Oxford University. The information reflects the student experience at Oxford University from the 13th through to the 15th centuries. I come from the middle class. My education began at home with my tutor. My family can afford to fund my education as far as I progress. The purpose of my family sending me to university is to secure myself a desirable future career, and if possible, elevate my social status. I was sent to be educated for a few years in the school connected to the cathedral in my hometown of Ely before joining the university. I lived in the school halls during this time. I learned and improved my reading, writing, and Latin grammar in order to join the university. The Latin is important because it is the language in which most courses will be taught. All students and teachers at the university are male. Universities do not accept female candidates. As a bachelor student, I have been living closely tied to the master of my choice, Master John Arundel, a fellow of Exeter College. I am studying under his supervision and am in his care. My father gave my master the money required for each of my terms, which is then doled out to me as required. If I require money for personal spending, I need to request it from my master. If I or my fellow students under Arundel's care behave poorly during the week, we are liable to corporal punishment by him. In 1410, the university decreed that all students were now required to live in college halls instead of in town. This is due to the unfortunate regularity with which students would get into trouble, sometimes with crimes as serious as robbery and homicide during the night. I live in the Exeter College halls, where I share a room with 3 other students. The university exerts its influence on us to try and mold us into good scholars and moral individuals. Time for extracurricular activities is restricted. I must attend at least 1 lecture from my teaching master each day. While I had expected leaving home for university to have provided me with a life of freedom, this has turned out to be far from the truth. Despite all these restrictions, we students still find time for revelry and celebration beyond the confines of the university. Meals are provided to us by the university halls. Breakfast is optional, but we are obliged to attend both dinner and supper, which take place around 10 to 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. respectively. Good table etiquette is enforced, and being late or lingering too long during hall meals can be punished. The punishment might take the form of a fine or the forfeiture of meals. Other restrictions on our behavior include wandering from the university at night and not being permitted to carry weapons. These are done in our interest, but chafe many students. In order to prepare me for university, my schoolmaster at Ely told me that there are, generally speaking, 5 different types of university students. These are the Scholaris Simplex, Baccalaureus, Master students, the students of rank, and specialist students. These classifications are not universal to all universities, and the lines between them can blend. So the first type is Scholaris Simplex. Most of the Scholaris Simplex are between the age of 14 to 16 years old. Like me, my fellow students are part of the university's Faculty of Arts, and most are enrolled in a university for the first time. As new students, we are typically attached to a master of our own choice or that of our parents. Under the master's supervision, we will learn more about our arts courses. The average duration of university attendance for my fellow students is around 1.8 years. I'm told that this type of student commonly accounts for 50% or more of the students in attendance. The social background of this type of student is, like me, generally middle class. though with a wide range from rich to poor. A Scholaris Simplex will not undergo any examinations, and as a result, such a student will not receive any academic title. The second type of student is the Baccalaureus. This is the type of student I currently am, and we are part of the Faculty of Arts. The Baccalaureus will have similar age, educational background, and social origin as the Scholaris Simplex. As time progresses, the proportion of poor students in this group has increased. This is likely due to the rising hope that this type of education could lead to social elevation. The purpose of this student is to attain a Bachelor of Arts degree. The degree can be gained after around 2 to 2.5 years of study, working under a chosen master. The student is usually between 16 to 19 years old upon receiving this degree, and this group accounts for between 20 to 40% of all students. While only a small minority of students receive university education beyond this level, I aspire to do so for the following reasons. The path of many Bachelors of Arts after university is typically limited to occupations such as school teachers and lower-level scribal and clerical posts. The degree is recognized as valuable, and for some positions such as royal clerks in England, it is recognized that a certain level of education is needed to perform a job competently. But many of the more prestigious jobs will usually be limited to educated people from the upper classes with the right connections. In most cases, students up to the level of Bachelors of Arts will remain in the social position they were born into. The third type of student is the Master's student. The Master student level comprises 10 to 20% of students and takes between 2 and 3 years to complete, graduating between the ages of 19 to 21 years old. I have noticed that there are fewer poor students at the Master's level. Most students are required to teach in the arts for 2 years, though this requirement is sometimes waived. Some students will not finish the Master of Arts degree. Instead, they will begin to study in the higher faculties, which are theology, law, and medicine. If possible, I aspire to become eventually either this type of student or a specialist student. Master of Arts graduates can work as teachers, although they often leave the universities to be employed by royal, municipal, or ecclesiastical tribunals and administrations. They were often trained as notaries as well, and so were generally certified to work in a number of skilled professions. By around 1378, 65.5% of church canons have a master's degree or higher, and less than 15% of these were of noble birth. Between the 13th and 15th centuries, 57% of England's bishops studied at Oxford and 10% of English bishops studied at Cambridge. As time has progressed, it has become increasingly important to have a university education to attain various official positions. The fourth type of student is the student of rank. These students come from a highly ranked family, for example nobility, those with middle-class prosperity, or their family possesses church livings. They come to the university with servants, and they usually gravitate to the higher faculty or law school. These students are educated before entering university, and have been taught primarily through private tutors. As a result, they usually enter with around a master's level of education. This type of student will generally not bother with examinations and teaching in the arts classes. Teaching students is considered beneath the student of rank, and this type of student does not require the social elevation a degree can provide to others. The social aspect of university is of greater importance to them. The final group of students is the specialist student. This small group of students, usually about 2 to 3% of the student population, concludes their studies with an examination and possibly a doctorate as well, concluding their studies sometime in their 20s to 30s. They continue their studies after achieving their bachelor's, studying to attain a licentiate in one of the higher faculties. After this, the students may seek a doctorate. This type of student seems the most desirable for me, as it likely provides the most opportunity for social advancement by possibly attaining a doctorate in one of law, medicine, or theology. This path would allow me to enter highly lucrative employment in elite circles and where family ties are of less importance. This concludes my student experience and what I've learned about university studies in the Middle Ages. Thank you for listening to my presentation. The following information is included in the slides because it is interesting and could be a good reference if you want to learn more about this topic. This slide provides a detailed comparison between the types of students in the Middle Ages and our modern education. This slide outlines various aspects of unfair grading in medieval universities, and also how important examinations actually were to students. This slide briefly compares the medieval student experience to the modern one. Here is the bibliography for my presentation, and here is the links to the image sources I used.